So currently out on a stroll. The heat's been absolutely banging. Tan's been pretty much on point. Been lucky enough to be out in it. Spent 3 days down Canberra with the missus, which is really nice. But we're back into work mode, and I need to get back on track with this men and emotions work that I've been doing. Been doing a lot of work with men recently, which is really nice actually, because it's really turned the tide from working for the past 8 months, me and Lauren, with just purely women and a few men here and there, to actually over the last sort of 3-4 weeks I've been seeing more men than women, which is awesome. It's great. It means that my work is resonating with people. And then seeing, when you see something click in a guy and they have a realization, there's something so rewarding in that, because in that moment you've released them from something that's been affecting or creating a struggle that men feel in their lives. And this video today, excuse my breathing, I'm walking up a big ass hill, but this video today I just wanted to describe and define what a balanced masculine energy looks like. And the thing that I want to talk about most, or what I really want to bring to the front, is harmony. Because when you're balanced, there is a harmony between yourself and your reality. And so one of the ways in which we can begin to see where wounded masculine energy is when there's resistance, or when there's projection with reality. So how can you understand this on a level that's easier to digest? Is what is your relationship like with your life? Where are you projecting, or where are you blaming? Because a balanced masculine energy is in a state of harmony where he's not projecting, he's not blaming, or he's not using life situations to blame for his unhappiness. So when a man's out of balance, this is what he will feel. He will feel his entitlement to be angry, or he will feel his entitlement to be shut off, or he will feel his entitlement to being disconnected, to not being able to trust, to not being able to be open. And these are all signs of wounded masculine energy, because you're not responsible for how you feel. And so when there's no harmony within, there's no responsibility, and that responsibility is being responsible for what you're projecting, or for what you're putting out into the world. Now, balanced masculine energy is bringing benefit to the world, is bringing benefit to the loved ones, bringing benefit to those around him, and being a benefit to the world at large. And so the way in which we can begin to see where we're wounded in our lives, or where the wounded masculine energy is where in our lives are we making other people responsible? Because when we make other people responsible, that's how we scapegoat how we feel. That's where we're lacking the responsibility for our own emotions. And so when we lack responsibility for our own emotions, we don't actually have the power to change our experiences. And that's kind of the key vital point, that when you are harmonized within yourself, which means you've been responsible for how you feel, then you're harmonized with your life. And this is just one of the ways in which, as men, we can begin to see where we are wounded, where we are out of balance. And that can show up in many aspects of our lives. That can be, we can be blaming our job, we can be blaming our finances, we can be blaming the relationship to women, or we could be blaming the relationship to our own children, the relationship to our parents, the relationship to our friends. And it's really beginning to see where where the suppressed emotional trauma is showing up in your life, and you know that always comes down to what's making me unhappy. But then it's about acknowledging that aspect of your life that's making you unhappy, but then going into that to really get to the root core of what's behind that unhappiness. So for instance, if we use relationships, if we're in a relationship where we don't trust, or we're feeling jealousy, or we're kind of controlling, manipulative, and kind of like in a relationship where we're trying to dominate the other person, we're trying to control the other person, you know, that is always pointing to wounds within ourselves. And so it's about stepping back from that situation, or from, you know, trying to dominate and control the situation, and ask yourself, why are you controlling? Why are you trying to dominate? Why don't you trust? Why are you not open? Why is there a lack of connectedness with the people that I'm having these relationships with? Because when we begin to ask these questions, then what we begin to do is we begin to expose or uncover the feelings in which we're trying to overcompensate through controlling. Because the only reason we're trying to control in a relationship is because we're trying to control how we feel. And when we're trying to control how we feel, we're in resistance towards the emotions. But the emotions are actually relating painful truths. And this is why, you know, when we say, oh, men and emotions, and, you know, men are not in touch with our emotions, this is why men are so dysfunctional. This is why men are addicts. This is why men are trying to, you know, create a world where they can put themselves on a pedestal. And for all of the dysfunction of man and man's lacking of connection, especially to women, because, you know, as men we degrade women. And this is something I'm going to talk about in more videos, you know, how we just completely manipulate and degrade women, especially when we sexualize women. And that's because as men are, you know, and I speak for myself because I've come through this, that men are degraded in themselves. So when a man's degraded in himself, he would automatically degrade a woman. And that's to kind of pull her down and to bring him down onto his level. And unfortunately, man's done a great job over millennia of actually degrading women, that he's now brought her down to his level. So, you know, really identifying where you're wounded in your masculine energy is to really look at your reality and see where you're blaming, and where you're potentially manipulating, potentially just to see where you're unhappy in your life. And then when you begin to recognize what areas of your life you're unhappy in, you begin to go into that, to question that. And that's why it helps to connect with content, or to connect with people. This is the coaching that I do. I coach on the unconsciousness, making man aware of the unconscious pain, or the suppressed emotional pain within him. And believe me, the more you go into doing this, to doing your own work, the more you begin to realize that actually a man's sole purpose or sole drive is to satisfy himself because he's deeply unhappy. And that's kind of what I want to bring to light with the work that I do, and when I connect with people, and to really bridge that gap, to really bridge that understanding, because I've come from that. I'm not judging, I'm not in a place of judgment, because, you know, I'm in a complete place of acceptance, because I've had to accept this in myself. I've had to realize this in myself. And to really honor something and bring it closer to yourself, you have to accept it. And so what I've accepted in myself, I accept in all men, which is what enables me to create that bridge for men to be understood. Because in truth, the only reason why a man is completely alone and an island to himself is because he hasn't allowed connection. And that's kind of what I bring that bridge of connection for him to understand himself. So always use your reality as to see where am I in harmony, or where am I at war, because what I'm at war with in my life is what I'm at war with within myself. And then taking the time to go into that and understand that, because the power of man does not lie within what he creates in his reality. The power of man lies in the reflection of himself. When there is peace and harmony and contentment and fulfillment within a man and love within a man, that automatically is what is changing and creating his new reality. And that's what will draw to him a woman that's able to actually love him, rather than a man being clingy, needy, or not being able to commit and pushing people away. Anyway, to the next one. Much love.